Balanced Scorecard in Education by Amanda Chillat. The balanced scorecard in education starts with the vision and strategy in the center and the financial, international business processes, learning and growth, and customer service all around the outside. So the vision and strategy. The center of one method of BSC is the vision and strategy is in the center, as we saw on the previous slide. Inserting the vision and the strategy in the center allows leaders to build a consensus and execute it at the local level. This vision, however, must be expressed to customers, and in the case of education, that would be considered parents, external financial supporters, which would be the state and federal funding. Internal business supporters, business that support the school, they donate time or they donate resources, they donate human capital. So everyone in the organization must understand learning and growth. In this case, we're going to talk first about the customer, parents. What is the objective the parents want from the district? What do they want to see? Do they want to see increased test scores? Do they want to see an increase in graduation rates, smaller sizes? Or do they want their students to be able to apply the knowledge that they learned? And how are we going to measure this? Are we going to compare test scores over a 3-year period? Are we going to measure graduation rates in a year-over-year analysis? Or do we compare college admissions in a year-over-year analysis in which students are accepted to a college? Are we going to set targets? A target could include something like we will increase graduation rates 1% per year until we reach a minimum 90% graduation rate. What are the initiatives, the alternatives to the graduation paths once we make the initiative to increase our graduation rate? Are we going to decrease class sizes? How are we going to do that? And what math and literacy interventions are we going to use? Financial. How are we going to succeed financially? How are we going to ensure to the public that the tax dollars that they're spending are being used in the most efficient manner? Are we going to invite parents and guardians to school? Allow them to participate in activities with their children? Invite businesses in to work with students in the mentoring professions they're going to be interested in. Target for a low tax increase or initiatives. Create opportunities for businesses to participate in schools, allowing for both the schools and the businesses to share in the financial burden. Internal business successes. Our objective is, what are the internal business successes? How are we going to create opportunities for students to showcase their internal success? Science fairs, community night, community events, family night, all need to be incorporated into our business model in order for the schools to become a success. In order for the community as a whole to believe in our schools, what do we need to satisfy our stakeholders, our business partners, and our state and local elected officials? Overall, when we evaluate what is success and what is not, we need to use a learn and growth model. Our objective is to achieve our vision, show change, and show growth. Some initiatives that can be undertaken by the school district in order to promote growth and change could be Saturday classes, online credit recovery classes, online schooling for suspended and medical students. Additionally, in order to increase the high school graduation rate, there could be multiple paths, such as BOCES, P-TECH, or learning through internships. Academic intervention services for students who are struggling, don't come to school. And an international baccalaureate program for our gifted students. Our target is going to provide multiple pathways to graduation and provide gifted students with a more challenging curriculum, keeping them in school and off the streets out of boredom. The history of the balanced scorecard. It began in the 1990s with Kaplan and Norton. They used financial and non-financial performance measures and they were used to compare links between strategy, goals, performance measures, and BSC outcomes. According to the Balanced Scorecard and Performance Management, it can be defined as a strategic planning and management system used to align business activities to the vision statement of an organization. When a company uses BSC, it can easily look at its progression in meeting their goals, changing their objectives, looking at growth, looking at what needs to be changed, defining their measures. A BSC can be used in a for-profit or not-for-profit model. The for-profit model has the interests of stakeholders, as does the nonprofit organization have the interests of stakeholders. The type of objectives for a nonprofit are going to be financial. For a profit are going to be financial because they're driving forces to make money. For a nonprofit, it's going to be cultural or social objectives. And a perspective. A financial perspective is going to be for profit, and a nonprofit perspective is going to be stakeholders' interests and their perspective. So why do not-for-profits need a BSC? A BSC describes the strategy. It shows the vision. It keeps the company, the organization, aligned with their goal. It focuses the action on what matters, such as improving student learning and education, raising our graduation rates, and creating alternative graduation paths in order to maintain rising graduation rates. And it creates an executive, a successful strategy. So we're going to talk about No Child Left Behind versus Every Child Accelerates Act. The history of the NCLB and the ECAA. So the NCLB, that was passed in 2002, and it required testing in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math yearly, including once in high school. For the NCLB, states had to establish academic standards, a state testing system that met federal requirements, and AYP, which is meeting adequate yearly products. The ECAA, which was just passed in 2015, ends on the majority of the federal test-based accountability, and instead it returns the responsibility of testing and accountability to the states. However, they must turn their plan over to the federal government for approval. It maintains the ELA and math tests in grades 3 through 8, once per elementary, middle, and high school for science, and additionally ELA and math for high school, and it affirms that states can control their standards. So the Every Child policies that are going to impact education, first was the No Child Left Behind, where we just spoke about the testing every year, and for Every Child Achieves Act, states are going to have the flexibility of when and how these tests will now be administered, and the accountability goals are up to the states, but they must be submitted to the federal government, to the Department of Education, for approval. In the NCLB, states were required to fix failing schools. So as the NCLB continued their growth, the penalties for not fixing schools year after year became more severe. One of the most severe penalties was to fire the principal and most of the staff, convert it to a charter school, lengthen the school day, or close down the school entirely. In the ECAA, the language is more specific on what schools need to improve, and yet less specific on how they have to do it. Failing is now considered to be at the bottom 5% of assessment scores and having a graduation rate of less than 67%. Spending on NCLB, $32 billion was allocated when it was set up, and by 2015, $23 billion has been spent. The ECAA has a budget of $24.9 billion. Both of these passed with a large majority. The NCLB passed the House 381 to 41 and the Senate 87 to 10. Most recently, with the ECAA bipartisanship, the House passed it 359 to 64 and the Senate 85 to 12. And these are the references.